Um, Matt, can you tell us tell us a little bit about your current business and your occupation? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we have a essentially like a white label graphic design and web development company, and we help agencies essentially deliver on their graphic design and web development requests. So if it's like a web design agency, we design and build the websites. If it's a funnel agency, we design and build the funnels, and it's very much strictly like a there's no strategy element to it. It's very much strictly the design and development kind of pieces. So essentially, we're a scalable solution that helps agency owners. It's like a
Cool.
scalable staffing solution for agency owners. The core offer is unlimited graphic design and web development for $650 a
And
month.
how's it going? And how's life right now?
It's going good. It's been a while since we spoke, but since in the academy we've grown from we didn't have a company actually when we all first met, and now a few years on we are just under 2 million revenue. Yeah, we're servicing about four I think about 370 380 clients, give or take, or like 380 subscriptions. And it's going good. We have a team of like 60 or 70 people. There's like quite a lot that are in our team and in our kind of in our Slack channel, and it's going good. Busy
It's
and
amazing.
and challenging at times, but it's going good.
That's awesome. So like looking back, right? When you when you participated in FaaS Academy, when you were a student, and looking back kind of on your previous self, what do you kind of recall as the feelings that you were facing in your business that kind of attracted you to FaaS Academy and beginning down the road or down the route of this kind of self-education and learning? What was that? What were you facing? What was going on in your life and in your business specifically that made you kind of move towards it?
Got it. Yeah, I think I was so early stages when I met you guys. I think the one of the major things was I had a very entrepreneurial job at the beginning, and I was kind of aware of how important it was to properly productize a service. So obviously this was I was in the direct response marketing world anyway. Essentially, I was working as like a growth manager. I used to run these kind of launches and funnels and stuff like that for a company. And I was very aware of how important it was from the experience that I had, to productize service delivery. I think I did at that point. I think I did have a form of an agency, which was a little bit all over the place. Was hard to productize. Was hard to. Sorry, it wasn't hard to. It was like hard to scale. It was hard to there were a lot of moving pieces, and we hadn't really quite found, I don't think, product market fit. And one of the things that caught my eye was just how you guys talked about really like productizing service delivery. So again, this is in the funnel market, delivering one solution to one audience and repeating that over and over again. And I think that concept just really attracted me. Because
So
of
for you, the
how
pain point, sorry. So
yeah
for you, the pain point or the thing that you're kind of the thing that you're capitulating right now is like service delivery. That was
yeah
something that you were like having a problem with. It wasn't necessarily attraction, it wasn't necessarily closing clients, it was delivering the service in a way that was uh like automated, easier, a better process. Is that the main
in a sense
challenge that you were
in a
facing?
sense yes, but it was kind of everything, because we had clients, and like if I were looking back, like we had clients and we could get them semi repeatedly. I mean, it wasn't that repeatable. Like actually, I think what I came in for was a funnel, um, and was actually like, how do I scale this thing and how do I stop it being from referral clients? I think at the time we had like one client who was giving us um, referrals, and I was like, okay, in order for this to actually scale, I need to move away from that and kind of build a funnel of our own. But in order to build a funnel of our own, I needed to think about every other piece of the system, right? So it wasn't like the attract will only get you so far, because you then have to figure out how to actually deliver on it, and well, sell it, and deliver on it, make sure customers are happy, and then kind of ascend. And the And in doing that process, in going through, essentially what we did was, yeah, we niched down to like Kajabi experts. I think was something we did at the time, as a way to get the attract and delivery phase right. But we essentially used it as a way to, yeah, the pain point in the start was how do we actually find and attract clients? And then I realized a little bit later on actually that like the whole system kind of needs to change a little bit in order for us to be scalable without my input.
Got it. And so from that kind of problem that you were facing, what was the ultimate factor in deciding to sign up to FaaS Academy at that time? Like, what was it that about FaaS Academy that you felt helped address that?
Well, I think generally at the time it was the just experience. I think like I'd heard some training regarding like how productization worked, how and kind of it felt like an all-inclusive kind of system for fixing essentially what I thought was the lead gen and attraction side, but that ended up being the wider approach. But that was Mikhail. I've been a fan of him for a very long time, and the whole team actually were just were really knowledgeable. I love the sales call process. Actually, wasn't for me. I remember not being like very salesy, traditionally kind of salesy, right. Really respectable sales conversation, which was really good. And then a bit of a leap of faith, but I think I just kind of bit the bullet and learn from these people.
Yeah. Was there anything that you recall that might have been kind of a factor that would have stopped you, or that you were like, I don't know, like that maybe was like might have prevented you from moving forward, like that was on your mind at the time?
Yeah, I mean, finances, is this actually going to work? Like the whole kind of typical sales rejection stuff.
Okay.
And also, and I think an element of me being a bit younger was like, I'm not even sure if this is what needs to happen in order for the company to grow. And I remember actually part of the conversation that I did have was one of the reasons why I felt so comfortable was because some of the prior conversations helped make me feel actually this is the route that I needed to go. These are the problems I needed to address. Again, without being salesy, but these are the problems I needed to address within the company in order to scale it to where I wanted to get to. And I think it was that process that, like, if I wasn't certain on that, then I wouldn't have moved forward. And then obviously there is also like, there is also kind of the price side of things, which at the time was, was a lot of money for me to commit. But yeah, I mean, looking back, it was the best decision.
That's awesome.
It was like one of the first major decisions. We've made a few since, and really this is like one of three of the, I think it's like 3 or 4 that have just been like, that have had
key decisions.
ROI. Yeah, exactly, in the company. And this was
really okay. Yeah. And so when you signed up, you're probably excited. What was did you have any like surprises that were unexpected benefits once you signed up? Like, what were some of those first positive experiences? Obviously, looking back, you can see, where you've come to, compared to where you were, and that probably is a net positive. But during the program, did you have any positive experiences that you were like, okay, this is the right thing?
Yeah, I think like there was lots of coaching calls. There's lots of kind of that kind of stuff. And as soon as I started dialing into some of the content, I started getting those feelings of like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely in the right place. I could get all my questions answered. I could, generally speaking, get the right guidance at the right time that I needed it. But I think the main kind of unexpected benefits were, yeah, I mean, just some of the guidance I got was so well timed. I mean, it really was like having been like tons of these programs, like the ones that really are the needle movers are when you get the right advice at the right time and at the right stage of your company. And that was kind of like the unexpected benefit almost. I think that was just really having people and content there that was so well addressed, like it addressed all of the problems that I was having in the company, and I didn't really even know that I kind of had them. And that was around like productization. That
So
was
you weren't
around kind of
necessarily problem aware with some
no,
of the
exactly, really not.
problems.
And like essentially,
Hmm.
it's like classic marketing stuff of like I thought it was the funnel thing, the funnel that I needed, but in order to get that piece right, other things have to be looked at, and other parts of the delivery model, and that can chop and change over time. And that was probably like one of the unexpected benefits was like in order, and we got the sales funnel, we scaled it up, we hit our first 10K, 15K months, and all that kind of stuff. But it's that framework of how I address that through the program that then allowed me to take those 10, 15K months to 30K months, 100K months,
Okay.
100K months, and that is kind of like it's the holistic approach to how to build a company, how to build like a service-based business, kind of run maybe not like a SaaS company, but it's kind of like a very systematized and very process-driven company, which allows you to elevate yourself and keep yourself out of business. And this whole time, I had a full-time job, and so I couldn't be spending all day. I didn't have the luxury of spending all day in the company, so I had to build it in a way that was strategic, in a way that was not reliant on me as the founder being the linchpin. And that concept in itself, I think, was something, and I carry this through to everything I do now. You fix the system. You fix the system, not the problem, or you fix the system that causes the problem, not the problem, not necessarily the problem itself. And because if you do that, if you jump in all the time, you're going to be obviously the root anchor of the operations. And with a service-based business, that just becomes more stressful, or more and more stressful. And I think every stage of the company that I'm at, it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to jump in and try and fix the problems yourself. When if you remember everything you get taught in the academy, like that same framework applies at every stage I've been through so far. And yeah, it's that's probably one of the biggest that's probably one of the biggest unexpected benefits, is really learning how to address problems and build solutions within the company that
And I think you just said something. I was gonna kind of I was going to apply a little top spin to that previous question about those unexpected benefits, but I think you kind of mentioned it, and I was going to kind of say specifically. So during the program, were you getting new clients? Were you able to scale your agency during the program, or if it wasn't during, was it shortly after? You did mention like going from 15 to 20K or 20K to 30K. Do you recall that? And don't feel like you have to have a specific answer for everything.
Me looking back a little way. Yeah, 100%. So we essentially started with everything 100% referral based and being like a per project company. And what we did, which is like really, really risky. I mean, it's like the worst. I won't say the worst, but I don't want to shoot people down if this is where they're at, whatever. But it's the hardest place to be, because you can't if you want to grow the company, you can't reliably. And that was one of the biggest problems I had, and we did fix that. We got the sales funnel. We started going up from average month was probably like between 2,000 and 5,000 a month at this time. It was tiny, and then by the end of it, I started going up to 15, 20K months through one acquisition channel, like through our own funnel, through a proper delivery system, and everything was scalable. And more importantly, it didn't have me attached. The only part it didn't have me attached to was sales at this stage. So one of the major transformations was it was essentially going from being like referral driven to really bringing in our first set of customers through a productized delivery system and also a sales funnel, which then resulted in the 15, 20K months.
Amazing. And you kind of mentioned this before, but like of the there's 4 foundations in the FaaS model that are covered when it's attract, close, deliver, and retain. Which of those 4 foundations was most important to you at the time, and has that changed? Do you consider any one of those things to be more important, or a place where you focus more of your energy on compared to the other 4 pillars?
Good question. So with every change in the company, this is actually like how we pivoted was actually because of these four things. So like one, to kind of break the ceiling, the income ceiling I had, we used to be a little bit consultative on our sales approach. To go. So one of the bottlenecks that we had was as a company is we would advise these kind of Kajabi site owners like how to build their site, what to do. And one of the things I didn't like was that I could see on the sales call, part of the influence was me knowing like my consultative knowledge, and that gave people certainty to move forward, and everything would be productized and all that stuff. One of the pivots that I made to go unlimited graphic design and web development, $650 a month, was the fact that I knew I was looking across the whole model: attract, close, deliver, retain. And I was saying essentially I had all of these things like this kind of works, right? The main issue was close to an extent because it was anchoring me into the company, and I would have found it hard to hire more sales reps who had Kajabi experience. So the question is this change? Like it hasn't changed at all, and I use these benchmarks for every change I make within the company, because every operation change I make, there'll be a change on the close front, and also potentially the attract. So what I did when making this kind of pivot is I said, okay, I'm happy to make this pivot because it's going to make closing easier. I can make closing easier and I can hire better reps. I'm fully out of the company. But what is going to have an impact is the way that we attract customers is going to change because our offer is going to change. So I had to just make sure I could
it was platform specific before.
Exactly, yeah. And then once I registered that, it was like the whole line was green, and we're good to go. And then that's what allowed us to scale. There was still obviously a lot of other challenges after that, but now I could remove myself 100% out. So the question is the question of like, has it changed? And what was most important at the time, it was the attract side that I was looking for a solution to solving. And then whilst I was with you guys, I realized like, okay, like actually everything needs to be kind of thought through. And it's okay if pieces change, but the aim is to try and get everything to align up. And once you line up, then you can kind of scale up. And I went through a few iterations of the company in order to get track, close, deliver, retain, all kind of green lit and happy. And does this work without me in the mix? And then that's what allowed us to scale. And obviously doing that profitably, we never like stopped any companies, never restarted any companies, or anything like that. It was all kind of very organic. But those and any change I make within the company now, I look at like what impact is this going to have on attract, close, deliver, and retain. And it's a very important framework because it does make those changes. And if one of those pillars is kind of out, you see the numbers across the organization kind of start to fluctuate and stuff. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but like
it does, yeah. No, it's
they're
great.
all incredibly important.
Yeah. No, the coolest thing is to just hear you say what your experience was, right? I don't have anything vested in your answers, right? Like your experience is what you lived. But it can serve as inspiration for lots of people, despite us sometimes not necessarily feeling that we're deserving of that or necessarily understanding that. So I think it's cool to hear your experience. Do you consider yourself to still be running an agency? Yeah. Is what you're running now, your company, an agency?
Yeah, 100%. Like we have like everything's delivered by people. Everything is. We do have some like SaaS solutions kind of in the works, but not everything's people driven. There's a lot of people in the company. We are serving just other agencies essentially as an agency. We're not results based, so we're not like a traditional agency, but we're like a fulfillment agency or a fulfillment model. And that's just because of where my strengths lie was fulfillment and just not strategy. And I had that conversation early on with, and that's one of the coaches, Kevin, was super good because he also had a similar approach with his agency, and so he could give me some good advice and guidance on how to manage that, where to lean in on the strategy. And one of the problems with that was like fulfillment, you can't really charge as much as you can strategy, and in a lot of cases, it's not advisable to kind of do that. It's not, but we're not strategy in the same way. Like the strategy we give is usually kind of other agency owners essentially on the operations side.
Right. You're not using insights to draw conclusions and make recommendations to optimize
like
processes
business,
or
like,
funnels or their business or their growth engine.
exactly. But it's more about the fulfillment of other people's company. And so yeah, we are definitely still an agency, like, and everything's run pretty. I mean, everything's pretty similar, to be honest. Like, no, I haven't made any major, like, we're going through a few more operational changes now that we're going from kind of 2 to 5 and 5 to 10. So there's a little more that needs to kind of be optimized with like the volume and stuff that we have coming through and all this other stuff. But generally speaking, like what we had in the beginning is what we have now. Like, try not to fix stuff that's not broken until
Right.
it does break, and then try to
Yeah.
optimize it. And,
Yeah. Only a couple more minutes if you got it. Are you okay with time if we go like 3-4 more minutes?
certainly, yeah. Let me just triple check. So I didn't. Yep, all good.
Awesome. So you kind of mentioned this before, but it sounds like you relate a lot of how things are going now with your business and the success that it's having to FaaS Academy. And if that's the case, which I'm kind of sensing that it is, what was your top takeaway from that experience that you're carrying with you kind of like every day? And I know you've kind of hinted on that and talked maybe about that in the last couple of questions, but is there anything else that you want to mention? Is there something that's just like a top, like a one thing that you can take away from FaaS Academy and say that you're carrying with you? It doesn't have to be related to FaaS. It doesn't have to be related to attract, close, deliver, retain. Anything that you went through that you're carrying with you today that you kind of recall.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like is whether or not you're giving results, like whatever you're doing, like is building a company that's essentially built like, and this isn't kind of said in the academy, but like essentially what you're doing is building a company that's like exit ready and can be exitable at the right stage because it's not requiring you as the centerpiece, right? So like I think the biggest thing that I took away from this is that by productizing, by like building a company that's not reliant necessarily on your inputs, or your inputs are put in kind of leverage parts of the company, you are building far more equity power. Like you're building far more equity value within the company by doing that and by thinking through this stuff. So not only does it help you with the sales, not only does it grow the company, not only does it kind of help you free from the company, but the kind of other added leverage and added benefit is that you actually build a company that has value and that you can sell anytime, that is actually an asset, as opposed to constant work for yourself, right? Which,
right,
yes,
as in your brain becoming the asset of the company, or becoming what you're selling, like your own kind of like knowledge in here,
exactly.
versus the processes that get the results for the clients that are kind of baked into the business.
Exactly, and that is like that model is very, very valuable, and just it sets you up so well for like all the conversations that come down later on down the line as the company grows. And that's probably the biggest thing, is like productization really is key. And in every single company, like every single company or endeavor that I do, like I just won't start until that foundation is in place, because otherwise it sucks all your time, it drains your energy, problems become your problems and not the company's problems, and it becomes very difficult to run. And so I think that is the biggest takeaway. And every stage of the company, I think through it in the same way. And I still have times like I jump in and figure stuff out. I'm going through a process like that at the moment where like I have to jump in, I have to review like 30 client channels or like something stupid that's really unscalable and silly to do, but I have to do that to get knowledge to be able to build the system correctly.
Right. So again, addressing the system that will address the problem, rather than
and so it's a really good way. And starting other companies is going to be done in a similar way. I'll just hire the CEO, give them the kind of the playbook, and teach them how to run and build the company in the same in the same way. so that I don't have to get drawn into actually solving the problems from the outlet. But it really kind of like carries through so well. It's such a valuable lessons to learn, and
Wow, that's cool.
clever. It really is a clever, smart way of building a company.
It's amazing to hear. Would you recommend FaaS Academy to other business owners that are, or agencies that are starting out?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no, I mean, I don't, as I said, there's been like a handful of people that have made like a really genuine, very, very clear impact on the direction and the growth of the company. And you guys are one of them. I mean, it's been, Academy as really, it was the first major impact on the company that we've had, and we wouldn't be here without this training. So
would you recommend FaaS Academy for a specific type of person? Like looking back, do you feel like you were at the perfect stage to enter into the academy, or had you entered earlier or later, would you have been not ideal? Like, is there a specific type of person or company or stage that you would say is ideal?
I think me knowing that I did want to build something because I had the full-time job, knowing that I did want to build something that could run and make money with or without me was very important. I do think that helped. Definitely. But I don't think there's necessarily like a right or wrong answer. There's just different starting points and different focus,
Right.
different areas to focus on, because it's every still to this day, every stage there's just different things that you focus on to get slightly different results. Like I even remember in the program they're talking about as you go through a scaling process, you review everything, and the variance of everybody who's coming through the attract causes variance, and delivery causes variance, and all the other things. And that's still that's essentially a blocker for our growth. And we're kind of like a SaaS product, like service thing. So we have MRR as well. So it's even more important. So getting even more niche on that same delivery model is just as valuable. You go through the same process, just niching it down. And it's the same process that you go through right in the beginning. So it's not, I don't think there's like a cap on who's a good fit and who's not. It's like at what stage you're in with a company, like should kind of determine like what areas you're looking at kind of fixing. I think is probably a better way of saying it. But not a better way of saying it, but it is probably like more accurate. Is like, I think it just depends what kind of problem you're solving within the company as to what part of the program that is going to be most suited to you at that stage.
It's amazing. These are the last two super short questions. Okay. The last question is, what's one word that you would use to describe your experience with FaaS Academy since signing up? Yeah, one word, and then why is it that word?
It was quite hard to answer. Probably result. I mean, it's kind of a boring word. It's not like fun or like super, but like result. Probably if I were to sum up like what I found super useful, like what happened and why it was so good was because of results. So I'd probably say results. And
pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, cool.
I just got good results, and at every kind of stage, it was I kind of got what I was looking for, and those
right. Like you felt like it delivered results, but it was also focused on taking actions that produced positive results.
Yeah.
Okay. And last one. So this is like one sentence, two sentences max. Okay. What's your biggest piece of advice to your previous self that existed before you going through FaaS Academy?
Oh, that's a good one. What stage?
You only have two sentences.
Right at the beginning. What stage? Right at the beginning, like before I'd started the program, or
that's up to you. But like think about before you had any like knowledge of FaaS Academy.
Yeah. Probably.
Like, and you could call yourself, and you
Yeah.
only had 20 seconds, right,
Right.
to tell like your old self something. Like, what is
Okay.
that biggest piece of advice that you tell yourself? 2 sentences.
I mean, I think I could give better advice if I had a little bit more time to think about it, but it would, but I think it would be around like solving the biggest problem possible with the most leverage possible, and in the most, solve the most specific, the biggest and most specific problem possible with the most leverage possible. Because when you do that, the vehicle that you're in is going to carry you forward so much further down the line. That, and also like, don't be an idiot and price a bit higher.
Don't be an idiot and price higher. Okay.
Yeah, the reason for that is because like the price will cap you. Like, and you know, that was strictly advice. I'm not calling anybody an idiot, but I'm just saying like that was strictly advice, Matt to Matt. Don't take the easy route and discount the price. Like it doesn't make as much of a difference as you perhaps might think at that stage. But those are the bits of advice that I'd probably give. And I think if I would have taken those seriously, I'd probably be in a slightly better position than I'm in now.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's that's awesome to hear, dude. I'm really, really grateful that you shared your time to kind of, I know it's kind of a weird conversation. I mean, it like